Beautiful day, and I greet you wherever you are. From the depth of my heart, I want to say welcome to a brand day. Maybe you are just waking up, maybe it's already afternoon in your area, maybe it's already noon and all of that, and maybe towards the evening also. But I want to thank you for joining, and I want to say welcome to this live broadcast. It is just 28 minutes past 7 a.m. in my location, and today is Friday, the 19th of January 2024. I want to begin by saying that this is not the time to begin to mess around and allow people mess around with your brains, allow people mess you up. You should have gone past the level of being messed up in the realm of your mind and being told anything that you should just swallow hook, line, sinker. You should allow yourself to understand this, that nobody would all ever give you what is yours unless you demand for it. And if you are going to demand for it, especially when it comes to anything that has to do with freedom or freedom fighting, then you must be part of what is happening to know what is happening. Because the enemy has lots of resources and is able to mess you up by equipping the people around you. And I'm going to I'm going to give you very, very critical, example of this from the story I'm going to tell you now about the women I told you about and the situation around that time when they did what they did to bring about a systematic change in the midst of slavery, a very systematic change, and significantly so. Thank you for joining. Please, as you join in, please like the video. It is important that you like it because your like helps other people to be part of it. And as much as you like it, you share it also on all your social media platforms because people must come to terms with what we are saying and what we're doing, and you have to be the agent for them to hear this. Also, please subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed. Now, first, I want to tell you this. Let me prompt you this before I go into the story of the day. You see, every of these arrangements that you hear on social media, BIAFRA this, BIAFRA government, BIAFRA Navy, BIAFRA Army, BIAFRA this, BIAFRA that, BIAFRA land being rescheduled or restructured. Somebody comes to tell you that they have renamed some places, they have divided states, they have divided the states that are already in Nigeria into different states. They have introduced passports, they have introduced the Biafra currency, they have introduced the Biafra constitution. Of course, they won't talk about constitution because they know when they talk about constitution, they will shoot themselves on the foot because we have had issues about constitution. But talking about Biafra ID card and all of this stuff, I want to teach those of you who don't understand the implication of nationhood and what it takes to have a nation. Nobody sits anywhere to redesign a territory. Name it. For instance, I hear of Imo State divided into 3 parts and all of that. Nobody sits anywhere, even in slavery, even in the midst of slavery. The colonial masters cannot sit down and just divide it. They consult. They have, they relate with the British, throne, and then relate with the criminals they have brought around themselves in their locality. And whenever they do this, they do it with absolute force. And this has become, the habit of some of our people. They just believe they can sit anywhere and just do anything and it goes. I want you, please, to understand this. Don't be an illiterate, please. It is important that you begin to engage your senses and your mind. It is high time fooling around self to be taken for granted by other people who capitalize on your ignorance and make you feel like you're fool. It is them understand that the days of foolery and the days of stupidity is gone. You have to take a critical stand right now. I wasn't licking some sweets for that. Let me keep it somewhere so I can talk very well. You have to make them understand that it is time that is manipulating you. Nobody sits somewhere and just divide a place, partition is going on. That this is what today. Very, very, I'm bringing it up today. Now, I want to discuss something critical with you. And that critical thing I'm going to discuss with you right now will teach us something very important that we need to do. We have been talking about us building our land, developing our land, doing the right thing to get ourselves really free. Now, let me tell you something. It is high time we stopped the issue. I know that whatever we are doing now, so many people might not understand it. So many people might not understand why we are saying what we're saying. So many people still believe in let's go force, let's do this, we have to kill, we have to do this, we have to do that. And strategically, you will not get result in that line. You will not get result that way. And I want you to understand that strategy is very essential in planning. And planning is the bedrock to achievement. So if you are not strategic in your planning, then your plan would not be a bedrock or would not be a standard for development. It would either destroy you, maim you, or make you. These are the two things that planning does. It's either it destroys you or it gives you an experience of how you're going to do it better later, or it makes you and gives you the result that you really desire. And that is why you must understand strategy. Now, strategy comes from experience, from the things you've done initially. You can learn to do it better and reapplying ideas that will help you do it better. That is how it works in anything you do in life, including your personal business, including freedom fighting. Now, you would agree with me that what we have been seeing is the same process, the same actions, the same things being done over and over again, and you think you're going to get a different result. It is not possible. Now, we want to be strategic, but we must learn from history or the things that have happened before, or you must have an item that is available that you can look at and think of it and look at it and analyze it and say to yourself, okay, this is cool, but this can be better. And that is when ideas begin to flow, and then you now become strategic in the way you deal with it. And that is why the issue of our freedom must also be taken in that light and understood in that light. We are supposed to have strategists who sit down, look at how we've done it before, look at how Ojukwu did it, look at how Wazirike did it, look at how Mazen Namikano has done it, and see how we can improve on it. Not capitalizing on it to defraud the people, capitalizing on it to harm the people, capitalizing on it and to get access to the enemies to kill your people. Now, I'm going to give you the story. Very, very important. Now, there's something that happened during, of course, all of you or some of you know this, that Nigeria the indigenous tribes that are locked up in the current Nigeria today began to, be brought under a colony around 1861 and all of that. And of course, that territory became a colony very strongly in 1914, when it was now amalgamated and all of that. It became a colony. So from 1961, and so the British have been trying to bring everybody together, colonize the territories, bringing them, controlling them in different ways, and all of that, doing all of this stuff from 1861. And in 1914, it became a colony and it was named Nigeria. And that is what happened. And before then, there were activities of the British getting our people, identifying saboteurs, identifying people they can manipulate, promise them everything. And of course, the human mind, naturally, once you give them a promise, they begin to, once it will favor them, they don't care about other people. Majority of people are like that. Once you promise them some stuff, they just want to look at what they're going to gain in the light of what you have said. They would not consider other people and the activities of other people to know what to do, whether it benefits others. Well, that's why in scripture, Jesus said something that whatever you will that men do to you, do ye even so to them, which means if I receive an offer from anybody and that offer will harm someone else, then it is not worth it, because it is not something also I would want somebody else to do to harm me. So it shouldn't be. So, but anyways, the British came in, they began to identify those they could manipulate, promise heaven and earth, tell them they would take them to school, tell them they were going to give them weapons. You see this gun, you can kill, shoot something from afar and the thing is dead. We can give you such kinds of power. We can empower you. We can do so many things, for you. And they began to look at their selfish side. Wow, if I get this, I'm going to be superior to my people. I'm going to stand. They have promised to make me leader. They have promised to give me this stuff. That was the strategy the British brought. They now looked at the system. They saw that our chiefs of the people who led our land were people that were elected by the people. Elected by the people. So they now saw that it is, and of course, that election, both men and women were strategically designed to control the communities and all of that, so that there is a balance in our system. They saw the Republican nature of our people, and they felt that it is very, very detrimental to their colonial tendencies and their colonial plan and program to disrupt and to destroy the people, to water down their culture, to make some people very weak and vulnerable, that is the women and children, and to also empower a few that will always play the role on their behalf and take control on their behalf to control their people on their behalf. They knew it was strategic. So they now brought this strategy of indirect rule, and which they now started appointing rather than electing, as it had been for chiefs to be elected, and for those who are leaders in the communities to be elected. The British colonial masters began to appoint people on their behalf to control the people. Now they made sure that these people they appointed were people who have agreed to their terms, who have agreed to get what they're going to give them, the wealth they're going to give them, the positions they're going to give them, and to make sure that they take their mindset, understand that it takes brutal force to control people. So you must be brutal on these people, and we're going to give you what will make them fear you. And so that was the control, and that was the strategy. And it came to a point in the 1910s, there became, in places like Agbaja and other places, there were some, women riots and women and protests and all of that started and all of that. But significantly, the women were left out in positions and in control. The women were kept away. And aside keeping them away, there was a planned program to now begin to strangulate them economically. So the Lord Lugard's government introduced, taxes. Another in 1928, they introduced another level of taxing, which they said is going to be broader, and it will have to do with, the number of children you have, the number of wives you have, the livestock and everything. It started becoming an economic strangulation. And when you want to get a people under you, strangulate them economically. That was the strategy used to deal with our people. You remember, during the BIAFRA war, the people were strangulated economically, and that affected, the whole system. So the British brought that strategy. They are going to strangulate these people. So they left the women outside of the planning. They left the women outside of the leadership. They kept women away because they wanted to actually isolate the women. And then because they saw the strength and the capacity of the women and how effective the cultural disposition of the people and the operational, social, and political lifestyle of the people, was, and how effective it was. And so they knew that they need to remove the women from the way, because they discovered that the women had actual powers that would help to set the system and the society aright. So they now decided to remove the women. And they now began to strangulate the women economically, which means that from their businesses, after introducing that extra tax on the men, the women who were more, most of them were the ones taking care of their families, so they were now the ones paying on some of them were paying on behalf of their husbands. It was a burden on them. The tax, plan and program was a burden. Now the British now went further, try to suppress the people by introducing further tax on the women. And that was where the whole issue began. That was where they pushed the women to the wall. And that became very, very significant. Now, when that stuff was done in 1928, and in 1929, they now started enforcing, these things on the women, including the widows, naturally, or in the cultural and behavior of the people. And the widows were not taxed. Nothing like that happened. And so, but the colonial masters wanted to have it all. And so they began to utilize these people, these warrant chiefs they have created and designed for their colonial aggrandizement. They started using them to try to impose taxes and other things on the people. So they now came to the point of taxing the women, taxing their businesses, taxing the children they have. If you're a widow, they tax your animals, they tax what you have in the house, they tax everything that has to do with your business. That was when the situation got very bad. And a woman called Wanyeroa became the center that will spark the real, that will bring about a transformation or a change in the whole system. Now, a man called Emeroa, Emeroa, who is also a boy, all those people who do boy those days. There's a warrant chief called Okugo, and this 1 year old, this Emeroa is one of his boy who goes around to get these taxes from the people. And he went to the house of this 1 year old, and 1 year old is a widow, or was a widow. He went to her house to demand for tax as the new law demands. Ukugo, being the warrant chief, sent his boy, Emeroa, to go collect that stuff from 1 year old. And 1 year old is a widow. And so when he went there, he now began to demand. I'm seeing the message here. And he now began to demand for the woman to count everything, and said, was your real mother counted? Were they ever counted in census? And that provoked the man and everything. And suddenly, man, held the woman on the throat and began to. I'm giving you the story how the Aba women riot, and actually decided to do something about it. Now, the Emero held 1 year old on the throat, and all of that. The fight, it went into a fight, and he held on the, and there was commotion, and the women were already having meetings at that point in time. So in the midst of the whole commotion, 1 year old left her house, and went to the meeting and told the women what has just happened in her house, and how Emeroa just came to abuse her or to attack her in her house. And that now became the point of transformation. The women became very, very angry. They decided they were going to take action, very critical action.